Well, hello again. My name is Merida, and I'm going to read you chapter 6 of my story. We start out seeing a sword drawn right above it. We made it back to the castle as fast as we could, while the guards patrolled the castle wall. Mom and I sneaked down to the moor. Blah, 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 blah. We slashed. I tell you what, I tried doing this with the flashlight in the front, and now I'm so blind it's hard for me to see the words on the paper. I'm gonna start over and try again. Ha me 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 ma 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 me 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 me. Ha. All right, I think I've got the voice down. Let's try one more. Me 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 me. Go 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 go. Okay, I think we're ready. We made it back to the castle as fast as we could, while the guards patrolled the castle wall. Mum and I sneaked down to the moor. We sloshed our way through the water and climbed up the well into the courtyard. Once the guards had passed, we went into the castle and through the kitchen. The hallways were dark and deserted. Where is everybody? I asked. Just then we heard shouts coming from the great wall. When Mum and I peeked inside, we saw the men from the clans ducking behind overturned tables. They were firing arrows and throwing axes and anything else they could find at each other. All four clans were locked in battle. It was just as Mum had predicted. The clans were at war because of me. You've got to stop them. Actually, it's, you've got to stop them, I said to Mum. But Mum was still a bear. There was no way she could enter the hall. I had to do it. I made my way through the fighting straight to the center of the room. The arrows ceased and the war cries faded. Everyone stared at me. What are you doing, lass? My father, let me say it like he would. What are you doing, lass? My father asked. It's all right, Dad, I said, lifting my chin. I tried to look the way Mum did when she delivered a speech or ordered me about. I have been in conference with the Queen. The lords started bellowing. They demanded to see my mother. They wanted to know how they could be sure this wasn't a trick. We'll not stand for any more of this jiggery-pokery, Lord Macintosh said. The clans let out war cries. SSS, rah, shut it, I hollered at the top of my lungs. Then they all shut it. I saw Mum across the room. She was standing against the wall, pretending to be a stuffed bear. No one had even noticed her. I took a deep breath and began. Once there was an ancient kingdom, its name long forgotten. What is this? Lord McGruffin demanded. I ignored him. That kingdom fell into war. And then there's a picture. Just for you, my dearies. And chaos and ruin, I told them. Ugh, we've heard that tale, Lord Macintosh sneered. Aye, but it's true, I insisted. I know how one selfish act can turn the fate of a kingdom. Lord Dingwall scoffed. Bah, it's just a legend. Legends are lessons. They ring with truths, I responded. Mum was still pretending to be a stuffed bear, but I thought I saw her face soften at my words. Our kingdom is young, I went on. Our stories are not yet legends, but in them was bond and struck. Our clans were once enemies, but when we were threatened from the sea, you joined together to defend our lands. You fought for each other. You risked everything for each other. The lords straightened themselves proudly. My dad rallied your forces, and you made him your king. It was an alliance forged in bravery and friendship, and it lives to this day. The clans cheered. But I've been selfish, I continued, and there is a matter of my betrothal. I've decided to do what's right, and across the room, my mum shook her head. No, she was saying no. My heart leaped. Mum mimed breaking something. What was she saying? That we might dare to break tradition? Excuse me, the chair is broken. Me fat butt broke it. that that we might dare to break tradition, I guessed. The lords looked at one another. Mum put her paw over her heart. She was telling me what to say. I translated as best I could. My mother, the queen, feels in her heart that we be free to. I interpreted more of my mother's minds. Write our own story. Follow our hearts and find love in our own time. My own heart was full to bursting. All I wanted to do was go give me mum a hug. But I couldn't draw attention to her. Even the lords were choked up. That's beautiful, Lord Dingwall said with a sniffle. What can we say? Lord Mackintosh grumbled. He was frowning. This is a grand idea, young Mackintosh cried. Give us a say in choosing our own fate. Aye, we Dingwall added. Why shouldn't we choose? The lords gaped in surprise. Lord MacGuffin turned to his son. You feel the same way? Young MacGuffin muttered something that sounded like, yes. That settles it, Lord MacGuffin cried. Let these lads try to win her heart before they win her hand, if they can. Dad put a hand on my shoulder. Just like your mum, he said, chuckling. Everyone to the cellar, I shouted. Let's crack open the king's private reserves to celebrate. The only thing Scotsmen like more than fighting is celebrating. Finally, Mum and I were alone. We had to get to the tapestry. Upstairs in the tapestry room, I tried to pull the tapestry off the wall, but it wouldn't budge. Mum, I could do with a wee bit of your help, I said. But when I turned, I saw Mum sniffing a cabinet. Then she came closer and sniffed me. Her eyes were black again, like those of a wild bear. Not now, I begged. At that moment, the door burst open. Dad stood there gaping at the bear. What the? In the flash, he drew his sword. Dad, no! I shouted loudly, desperately. It's not what you think. Merida, get back. Dad swiped, cutting Mum's arm. No, Dad, don't hurt her, I screamed. But the Bear King wasn't listening. He swiped again. Mum roared and lashed out, knocking Dad to the ground.
Quiet time.
Then her eyes cleared. I'm almost done. Mum, I cried, but we had been too loud. I heard the lords coming up the stairs, drawn by our shouts. Mum, run! She nearly plowed over the lords as she raced from the castle. Dad, I ran to help him out to his feet. Are you hurt? He cried. It's Mum. I tried to explain. It's your wife, Eleanor. You're talking nonsense, Dad said. I tried to tell him about the witch and the spell, but he wouldn't listen to me. He locked me in the tapestry room and gave the key to my brother's nursemaid, Maudie. Then my dad went out to hunt my mother. And that brings us to chapter 7, where the locked key. Until then, I love you, laddies.